All right, good afternoon, everybody. And my name is Jennifer Brook, and I'm the Associate Director of International Admissions at Hawaii Pacific University in Honolulu, Hawaii. And today I'm going to talk about how to get internships while you're studying in the United States. So while you're a student, either an undergraduate student or a graduate student. Okay, so some of the things I'm going to talk about and highlight during my presentation are things like, what is an internship? What does an internship mean? Why are internships so important, and why do so many students, especially international students, want to do internships, and what are the benefits of doing an internship? And specifically, why internships in the United States? Why not somewhere else? Why is an internship in the United States so much more beneficial than maybe in some other countries? And then also, how you can get internships. So I'll give you some resources, some things that can assist you in finding an internship while you're a student. So I'll give you some websites and give you some hints, some tips that you can use once you're hopefully studying in the US later on. And then some helpful tips that international students who are looking for internships need to remember and watch out for. And then finally, I have some student testimonials. So I have some words of advice or experiences from 4 different international students who have done 4 different areas of internships, not only in Hawaii. I have 2 from Hawaii who did theirs at my institution, but also at 2 other universities as well. So you'll get to hear what their personal experience are. Okay, so with that, I just want to quickly talk about my institution very briefly so I can give you a brief introduction. Hawaii Pacific University is a small private institution in Honolulu, Hawaii. We have about 8,200 total students, but we're predominantly an undergraduate institution, around 7,000 students. We were named as one of the most international universities in the whole United States recently by the Institute of International Education. So we're a very diverse, multicultural, international university. One of the things we're very well known for is actually internships, so that's why I'm speaking to you more about that today. I actually did an internship at Hawaii Pacific University as a graduate student, so I have personal experience with that. And the other thing we're known for is small class sizes. So classes of 15 to 20 students is the normal class size, so there's a lot of interaction with professors, other students, and those really help with the internships and jobs that students want to secure. And I'll briefly just give you an idea of the programs that we're best known for, and those programs are marine science, psychology, environmental science, nursing, international business, travel industry management, and another major one is international relations. We, of course, have over 50 majors, but those are some of our top majors that we do have. And we do offer scholarships for international students as well. So if anyone has any questions, we can take those later on after the presentation. But now I want to move on to the topic that we're here to talk about, which is internships. So really briefly, I want to talk about what is an internship and how does it differ from other types of work experience that students may get as they're studying. And first of all, an internship is a great way to get work experience related to your field of study. And so it's usually related to an intentional goal that a student may have for the outcome of their degree program. So it's related to their field of study. So for example, if you were studying nursing, you would probably have an internship at a hospital or a nursing home working with elderly patients, something like that. And it also allows you to apply what you've learned in the classroom to a professional setting. So everything you've learned from your professor, from your fellow students, from all the readings and studying that you've done, now you get to apply it and actually put it into practice, see how it works, what doesn't work. So it's a very valuable experience. There's also many different types of internships available. So for example, you could have an internship that is part of your program. So you might be familiar with, for nursing, for example, usually there's a practical component to the program where you have to actually work with a patient or multiple patients. for things like TESOL, which is teaching English to speakers of other languages, or teaching. Usually you do have to have a student teaching component where you'll be teaching your own class. So in that way, those are practical-based internships, but there's also internships where you would actually go and secure the internship yourself in a workplace. And some of them can be paid, and some are not paid. So that's one of the things that you want to research and look into. Typically, they're not paid, to be honest, but some of the non-paid internships are some of the most valuable experiences you'll get. Even though you're not paid monetarily, you're not given money for your work, you'll get paid back in the experience that you get, the good references that you get, and possibly you might see a job offer at the end of your internship or when you graduate. So that's something to keep in mind as you're looking at the internship. And typically the paid internships are very competitive. So typically there's far fewer paid internships, and there's a lot of students that are competing for those. So that's just something to be aware of and keep in mind. And an internship differs from a co-op or an externship. These are some things that you've probably heard before. Maybe you've seen it on a university website or heard an admissions officer speak about. A co-op is more over several semesters, or it could be for one full semester you're working only. You're not taking any classes at all. So you're just working that semester. So that's typically a co-op situation. Most international students tend to do internships. There are a few schools that do offer co-op opportunities for international students. An example of this would be, for example, Kettering University, which is in Michigan. It has an excellent co-op program in engineering for international students. So you just want to look at what you want to do, whether it's studying with a work experience, or if it's work experience, study, work experience, study, okay? And then an externship is a little bit different. It's more of a job shadowing type of situation where you're not necessarily doing a lot of hours in the workplace. So you're shadowing someone in their position. You might not be doing a lot of actual work on yourself, by yourself, or applying a lot of work. You're more watching or observing other people. Okay, so why would you want to do an internship? What is the benefit? Well, I put a picture of a bicycle up here, and you might be wondering, what is she doing? Why is there a bicycle here? And I kind of want you to think about this. How many of you learned how to ride a bicycle from reading a book about riding bicycles? Okay, nobody, right? You learned how to ride a bicycle because you practiced. You might have fallen a couple times, scraped your knee, but you got up and you tried again, and eventually you learned how to ride that bicycle. And even if you haven't ridden a bicycle for a long time, because it's winter right now and it's kind of chilly, in the summer you'll be able to get back on your bike and do it again because you've learned a skill. And so this is kind of illustrating why an internship is so valuable, because you're actually learning by doing. You're getting a hands-on opportunity, and you're not just reading about various theories or ideas in the classroom, but you're actually practicing. You're interacting with people. You're learning from professionals by doing. It's also an opportunity to try out a different field or profession. So again, you're not going to buy a car without test driving it, right? You want to test drive if you're buying a brand new car and spending all that money. Well, the same thing kind of goes for a professional setting. You might be majoring in business and think that you want to go into the field of finance. And you believe that the whole time you go through your degree, and then you graduate and get a job in finance. What if you hate it? Then what, right? This gives you an opportunity to test out different fields. Maybe you'll go into finance and you'll absolutely love it, and you know that's the path for you. Well, that's great, but maybe you won't, and maybe you want to focus on management instead, or international business, or hospitality management, or something else. So it's a great way to give your career a test drive, so to speak. It also allows you to make contacts in the industry that you're interested in. So you've heard a lot, networking, right? Well, this is a great way of building your network of contacts within the industry that you're interested in. You're going to meet, people that have been within that industry for many years, people that are just starting out like you. And these are great contacts for when you're looking for positions in the future after you graduate. It's also great contacts for when you already have your position and you want assistance to get something done, and you will remember from your internship experience, oh yes, I remember this person helped me with X job or X problem. I can call them again and they'll help me. Or I remember this person had a position open in this area and I'm really interested in that. You can give them a call to help you with other positions. You can get a mentor and learn firsthand from professionals. So a lot of times having a mentor can go a long way. A person can guide you, help you out, give you tips on breaking into an industry or a profession that you might be really interested in. And they can also give you advice, what worked for them, what doesn't work for them, what they've learned from, and they can tell you these things so you kind of have some advice to start out with as you begin your career. You will most likely receive more job offers and possibly begin your career at a higher level position. And this is very important because everyone wants to be able to get a great job after they graduate. That's one of the prime reasons why you're at university, getting that training, is you want to not only do something that you really love, but also get a great job doing something that you love. And in a moment on the next slide, I'll give you some statistics that talk a little bit more about how employers view internships and how they view people with internships a little bit more positively than those that do not have an internship. It helps you improve or develop your resume with work experience in the United States. So again, you're going to stand out above the crowd because not only do you have work experience already before you graduate, versus someone that just has the education on their resume, or maybe they, do have work experience, but it's not related to the field that they're breaking into, but it's in a foreign country, which is very, very desirable. And many times, in fact, for all international students, you will earn academic credit for an internship. So if you have to take classes anyway, why not get this great work experience and get credit towards your degree while doing it? Okay, so I just said that I was going to talk a little bit more about how employers view internships. So I talked to a lot of my colleagues at other universities, very diverse universities. We're private. I talked to some public universities all across the country, not just in Hawaii. And many of them reported they've done a lot of research into this, their Career Service Center, and they found that a high percentage of the students who have completed an internship have been offered a job before graduation at the place that they've done their internship at. Now, in the case of Hawaii Pacific University, over 60% of our students who have done an internship have been offered a job, offered a position before they graduate, okay? Now, you have to wait till you graduate to get the OPT experience and work full-time, but it's just very good to know that you have that position waiting for you when you graduate. It's just very reassuring. So that kind of puts a hard number on how important these internships are to employers. The second thing is Michigan State University did a survey, and we did one very similar, and we came out with very similar results, that 50% of employers agreed that students should have at least one internship experience during their degree program. So over half believe that students should have at least one internship, and that is a deciding factor whether or not they actually hire someone for a position. And 40% believe that students should have at least 2 internship experiences. So again, it's not just me telling you that it's a good thing to do or it's important to do, but employers are really viewing students have done internships in a positive light. On the flip side, definitely, since you are an international student, having that experience already in the US shows that you have initiative, that you're hardworking, and also that you have been able to work in an English-speaking environment. And those are also very important if you want to stay in the US and do the OPT or possibly eventually get the H1. But also, again, if you want to come back to your own country or another country abroad, certainly the work experience in your resume is very, very valuable and looks very good. So why specifically the US? Because as we know, you can travel pretty much anywhere worldwide and do an internship. So why the US? And not only why the US, but in addition to the great reasons for studying in the US, because you're going to get liberal arts and science education, you're going to get a high quality of education and a great experience in the United States. But what in addition to that makes internships so valuable? There's a lot of multinational American companies, obviously, and so a lot of these companies are also based abroad. So if you come to the US and get an internship at one of these American companies, and I'll give you some examples in a moment, you may be able to get a position at the company based in another country after graduation, because you have that experience. You've shown that you've done well in that work culture, and you have that on your resume. There's many multinational foreign companies in the US. So Samsung, LG, IKEA, just Volvo, just to name a couple examples, are foreign companies that are actually operating in the US, where you can get an internship at that company and get the experience in the US, and then once again, you could go anywhere in the world or possibly to your home country and continue working with that experience. And of course, as we know, US has a very good economy for different positions. As an international student, again, it's a little bit more challenging right now because of what's going on in the US in terms of the economy, but the internship is definitely going to put you above and beyond those students, even American students who don't have that experience. There's many universities that have links with specific organizations. So this is something I encourage you to look into. If there's a specific major that you're looking at already that you are really focused on, and you definitely know that you want internship experience in that major, I would highly recommend you do research ahead of time, because there's some schools that have direct relationships with companies and organizations that will give you an enhanced internship experience. One I can name off the top of my head as an example of this is Fairleigh Dickinson University, which is located in Teaneck, New Jersey. They have a relationship with the United Nations. Okay, so if you're interested in international relations or being a diplomat or working in an embassy, that is an excellent example of a university with this direct link with an organization. Okay, so, and there's several others, but that's just one example. Our university, Hawaii Pacific University, has connections with Fulbright scholars as well. So again, you just want to, if there's something that you know for sure you want to do, this is a great opportunity to research those specific links that will help you in your future, for your future goals. And then again, I've said this already, but international work and study experience is extremely desirable. So coming to the US, getting not only the study experience, showing you have initiative, you have willpower, you're independent, you're strong to come to another country to not only study, but also get that internship and work experience, really says a lot about not only your personality, but also how you're going to be in the workplace, how hard of a worker you're going to be. And that's absolutely going to set you apart from others. And again, you're going to, in the United States, be able to improve your business and technical English. So, for example, in fields like nursing or engineering or biomedicine, there's many specific terminologies that are used in English. You'll be able to develop that vocabulary to use. And again, same with business. So for example, for international business, you will learn a lot of the international English, business English that you can use in the future when you're negotiating contracts with foreign companies or working with people in another country. So those are all good assets to have. Now here's some examples of internship sites. I was just talking a little bit vaguely about different companies and things. These are actually where our students are at Hawaii Pacific University this semester currently. So again, each university is different and what they offer is very different. So you will want to research the universities that you're interested in and looking for. But at our university, we have students that are in Hawaii doing internships, but obviously also, you know, across the United States. So we have students in California at Apple Computers. We have students in New York at the New York Stock Exchange. And as I mentioned, other universities also do this. They offer internship opportunities or give students information on internships across the United States. So just because you study in New Jersey doesn't mean that you can't have an internship in Chicago or Los Angeles necessarily. So just so you know, that's something that you want to research with each individual school that you're looking into. Many universities also do offer international internships. So if you want to do one internship in the US to get that work experience for your resume in the United States. So for example, if you studied in Chicago at DePaul University and you wanted to do an internship at the Abbott headquarters if you're doing pharmaceuticals, then you could do that there. And then say you want to get an international experience to add to your resume as well, then they also have in their office a listing of international internships where you could actually do it in another country, your second or third internship even. So a lot of American universities are very flexible about this, but again, do your research. And at Hawaii Pacific University, certainly we've had students around the world in Shanghai, Tokyo, London, Stockholm, just Singapore, pretty much anywhere. And you can do these international internships typically during your summer break. So if you're going home to visit family, you could do your internship back here in Korea, or if you want to go somewhere else for your summer break, you could also arrange for an internship during that time outside of the US. Okay, so I'm going to talk briefly about different resources, and so you might want to jot some of these down. A lot of these will be available to you once you start studying in the United States and you connect with your Career Service Center. But most US universities that I know of at least have a resource center that does help you secure internships, and typically it's called something like a Career Service Center, Career Resource Center, something like that. They also do help you with other things such as building a resume, preparing for the internship, mock interviews. So they'll have a practice interview for you. And, you know, you might be nervous if it's your very first internship interview in the US in English. Yeah, it's understandable. So they'll have a practice interview session. They'll have workshops set up where, you know, they'll give you profiles of different companies and things like that. So you want to be on the lookout for the Career Service Center, and that's a really great place to start your search for the internships and also for jobs after graduation. Your relationships with your professors. That is another key area that you want to be keeping in mind from the first day you step foot on your campus, or even beforehand when you're emailing your professor before you arrive in the United States. A lot of the professors have key contacts in companies, organizations, research facilities, labs, or even they own a company themselves or work for a company. You never know, okay? But a lot of them do have relationships with various organizations that do have internship opportunities available. So you want to be nice to your professor, okay? You want to work hard in your classes, of course, and make yourself stand out in your classes because you never know. That might open a lot of doors for you in terms of internships and jobs. Okay. You also, if you're looking for an internship that's related to a class that you're taking, so for example, if you're studying international relations class and you want to do an internship somewhere in the field of international relations, but you're not too sure where or what, a lot of times the professors will be able to talk with you and really help you narrow down what might be of interest to you. So they can be very helpful and a very good resource, especially for international students who may not have lived in the United States for a very long time. A lot of schools have career or internship fairs on campus. So usually these are announced well in advance, and they'll actually bring companies to the campus. They'll set up tables and you can walk around and speak with them about any opportunities that they may have. A lot of times they actually do hold interviews on the spot, so you want to come prepared, looking professional. For example, at Hawaii Pacific University, we do have internship fairs 3 times a year. We have some for specific majors. So we have a nursing placement and internship fair. We have a technology placement and internship fair. And then we have for the rest of the majors. So companies from all over Hawaii, as well as the mainland of the United States, California, New York, Chicago, will come to our campus to basically talk more about their company. And so again, this is a great opportunity just to keep in mind, because you can, maybe there's going to be companies that you've never heard of before. You've never heard of them, but you can ask them a lot of questions. You can ask them what they're looking for interns and things like that. Is it paid or unpaid? So if, in the future, if you're looking out for these kind of events, prepare some questions ahead of time and come dressed professionally, and that will go a long way in helping you secure an internship. All right, I'm going to get into a couple websites you can jot down, but a lot of the schools in the U.S. actually do have their own websites for their Career Service Center available, and they have internal postings as well. So, for example, my university, I know Michigan State University, Iowa State University, we all have our own websites where employers will approach us to post their internships or jobs, and it's only for our students. But here are some external websites that you can have a look at. So the first one is NACE, N-A-C-E, link.com. And a lot of universities do have partnerships with this website. For example, there's over 900 colleges and universities in the U.S. that utilize or endorse this website. We happen to be one of them. Michigan State is another one. And so it has a lot of resources for internships across the United States, as well as helpful hints. So things like how to develop your resume, how to prepare for an interview. So if you want to just look quickly and you don't have necessarily time to go in to your Career Service Center to ask more questions, there are some resources available to you online. Another one is careersearch.com. And again, a lot of Career Service Center do endorse this website for students to find external internships. Wetfeet.com. So wetfeet.com is a general website, but now they've been linked to specific schools. So it's schools.wetfeet.com. And so you can go on there and search to see if the school that you're currently attending or will be attending is a part of that network. And then LinkedIn, which you may have heard of. LinkedIn it's almost like a Facebook for jobs. It's a professional Facebook. And so once you're a student, it would be a great idea to create a LinkedIn profile. It's professional. It's a great way to expand your network. You can also list many things that would normally be on your resume on this website. So things like your education, did you take a really specific class that might help you get a job? You would list that on there. Do you have any language abilities? Did you publish a paper during your graduate school or undergraduate research project? So these are the type of things you list there. And employers actually do pay to subscribe to this website, and they will search for or for profiles that fit what they're looking for. And they will do this for internships. So not only can you get employers contacting you directly, but this is also a great way to build networks, to build your professional network. I just want to go back to the Career Service Center as a resource really quickly. For most internships, and I did mention this already, but I want to reiterate this, most internships, while there is a lot of resources available to all students, not just international students, most of the time it's really up to the student to secure that internship. So things will not be handed to you on a silver platter, but you have a lot of resources, a lot of help, a lot of friendly staff that will give you a lot of hints and tips and really work with you to find the internships. But it really does start with the student having the initiative to get that internship, not only get the internship, but also perform well in the internship, to perform professionally and get the credit and also get those valuable experiences that I've already spoken about. The places where you may get a placement, so you may get some more assistance in getting the internship, are things like I already mentioned, nursing, teaching, and those kind of fields. You might have someone at your school that will assist you a little bit more with that type of placement because they want to make sure that you're a correct fit for wherever they place you, for the particular setting, the school, the hospital, the clinic, that type of thing. Okay, so I just want to give you some tips to remember as you are thinking about internships as you're studying in the United States, because I haven't gone through these yet. You guys are international, most of you, unless you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. If you're in the United States on an I-20 form as an F1 student, you must wait 1 academic year before you can do an internship. Okay, so that's called Curricular Practical Training, or CPT. Now, this isn't something to be, that's terrible. It's nothing to be negative about. It's actually a good thing because you can take that year to really make sure that you know what you want, that you're studying what you want to be studying, and to really do your research and find the right internship for you. You're not going to just jump into it. That probably wouldn't end up in the way that you want it to. So you do have to wait 1 academic year, but you can use that academic year to your advantage to start your research and get those resources in line. So you can start after that. It must be related to your major or field of study. So that is the major thing about what an internship is. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go to the United States and I'm going to work while I'm studying and I'm going to do an internship at Starbucks. No. That's unfortunately, Starbucks is a great place, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. The only way that would happen is if, for example, you are doing graphic design and you get hired at Starbucks doing graphic design for their new coffee mugs or coasters or displays or advertisements, something like that. So again, an internship is very specific to your major or field of study. It has to be related. And again, it's a good thing because you're getting experience that's going to help you with your career goals. And that's the main reason why you're doing the internship in the first place. So if you want to just come to the US and study and you want a part-time job, that's not an internship. That's, working on campus part-time in the library or something like that. And that's completely different, okay? And you must get authorization from the school. So again, because you would be in the US under a visa, okay, the F1 visa status, you have to get authorization. So this is, each school is different, of course. So you want to just, make sure that you know what you're doing ahead of time. You want to talk to your International Student Service Office or International Affairs Office and just ask them all the questions that you have. And if they don't do the authorization, they will direct you into the right office. So for example, at my school, the Career Service Center actually does the authorization. But I know at other schools I've worked at in the past, it's been the International Student Service Office. So just, go to your International Student Service Office and ask them, say, I want to do an internship and they will tell you the correct procedure for getting that authorization. The last thing you want to do is to start an internship or think that you're going to be doing an internship and not have the authorization, and then it falls through. That's not good for you, and it's not good for the employer that you've told you would work for them. So just make sure that you know the procedure ahead of time. It's, in the US, people are there to help you, and people are generally very friendly. So just ask a lot of questions, and people will be happy to help you. All right, so I just have some little testimonials from some students who have actually done internships in the US, and I have 4 different students, 4 different areas of study, and they're all international students. 2 of them went to school at HPU, and 2 are from 2 different schools. Here's a student, her name is Amanda from Malaysia, who did an internship at Merrill Lynch in Hawaii. She was offered a full-time position as an administrative manager for her optional practical training, and she was actually later offered an H-1B visa, so she's still in the United States working. Now that's your choice if you want to do that or not, but the internship directly led to her getting offered a very good position at Merrill Lynch. She also said that the internship helped her improve her English and feel confident professionally. So not only did it give her that great experience for her resume, it built her confidence and allowed her to practice her English, which is excellent. Here's one from psychology. This is a Korean student from DePaul University. DePaul University is in Chicago. She did her internship at a psychology research lab at the university. And so at some universities, the labs are pretty much off limit to undergraduate students, only unless they have an internship. So she actually had her internship. She worked closely with experts in her field. She worked on a project that was published in a major journal, which is excellent for her resume. And then she actually didn't go on to get a job. Okay, she didn't. She went on to a PhD program because she decided that she wanted to be a professor, and she learned that. She discovered that through her internship. And so what her internship did for her was help her discover that she loved social psychology, which is good. It helped her really learn what her ideal career path would be, helped her learn that she wanted to be a professor and she wanted to do a PhD, and it gave her excellent recommendation letters and that experience she needed to get into a top PhD program. She is currently a PhD student at Arizona State University, and that was through her internship. A lot of that experience came up. Actually, I know him. He did teaching English to speakers of other languages program at Hawaii Pacific University. He was an exchange student from Konkuk University here in Korea. He wanted to teach math in English. Okay, so that was his major goal when he came and wanted to do as part of his internship practicum. So he actually did an internship where he was practicing teaching in English, and that was very helpful to him because that's something that he didn't get the opportunity to do here in Korea. And it also helped him learn what works with students and what doesn't work with students. What about classroom management? How do you deal with students who are talking when you're trying to talk, and all those kind of things that go on. And so he got that hands-on experience, built his resume, and actually when he returned to Korea, he is now working as a math teacher at a middle school here in Korea. So that helped him gain that experience and get that on his resume, which helped him get a job when he returned home. So he's an example of someone who returned to his home country to get a job. Here's a student, a computer science example. This student is from Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, and she's from Vietnam. She was a developer at a financial group where she really got to work with different coding that previously she had only done in classroom assignments for her professor. She had never done it in a professional environment. So she got to actually communicate with people who were experts in the field, that was their profession. Communicate with them. How do you make improvements to what the work you've done? How do you handle that when someone says, ooh, you know, this isn't quite right. Can you improve this? You know, if you don't have that experience, you might feel hurt. But it's something, you know, these are interpersonal communication that you really develop through these kind of situations. And she said basically that the hands-on experience that she got through her internship opportunity was something that she could have never gotten just from being at school. So again, the same thing with the image of the bicycle. You know, you don't learn how to ride a bike from reading about riding a bike or listening to someone telling you how to ride a bike. You actually learn how to do these things through hands-on experience. And that's really what an internship will do. Okay, and I think with all of that said, I talked a lot. I will wrap it up and open up for any questions that you guys may have.
And also, even if I do the CPT, then I can do it.
Yeah, I'll repeat the question because there's people listening online. So the question was, can you do CPT for the internship and then OPT later on? Yes, they're two separate things. And so a CPT is called curricular practical training, and that's normally what you'll need in order to do an internship. And that's why, again, it's so very much important for international students to have your internship related to your field of study directly. OPT is optional practical training, and that's 1 year of optional work that you can apply for after graduation, or you apply a bit before graduation, but that's authorized by the US government, so you actually will fill in some paperwork and send it to the government, who will send you a card if you're approved, whereas CPT is authorized by the university via the government. We're kind of working on behalf of the US government. Now, there's one thing that you want to be careful with. If you do too many full-time CPT, so too many full-time internships or curricular practical training, you can actually eat into your OPT time, okay? So this is very rare. This doesn't usually happen, but if you start doing a bunch of full-time internships that you need authorization for, it eventually will take some time away from your OPT. So maybe then you might only have 6 months of OPT or 7 months of OPT. So this is why and this is rare, it doesn't happen very often, but that's why it's so very important that you sit down and speak to your advisor at the university and talk about what your goals are and how many internships you want to do, and make sure that if you definitely want to do OPT, that you keep your CPT internships part-time, okay? Question?
And you said it must be related to my major
Mhm.
study. But if my major is just a language, so it's hard to relate with the major for internship.
Mhm.
Should I get is there another way to get an internship no related?
Okay, so the question was, if you have a major that is a little bit difficult, like a language major, because the internship has to be related to a field of study, is there a way to still get an internship? So what kind of field of study, what kind of language are you? French. Okay, no, that's fine. So, for example, do you know what you want to do with French? What's your goal? What do you want to do in the future? Do you know?
I'm interested in restaurant management or.
Okay, so I mean it's not that strict. So the person asking the question wants to major in French, for example. So you could do an internship, and you can explore different avenues where you could use French. So for example, at my university we have a major in Japanese and Korean. So we have students who are in those majors that actually are working in hotels or at major tourist attractions as translators, as interpreters, and things like that. You could also do an internship as a teacher, a French teacher at a high school or an elementary school. Some countries or areas do have French preschool, French, what do they call it? There's a French organization where they promote the French culture and teaching of the French language, so things like that. So if you major in a language or something a little bit more abstract, there's still ways that you can do internship and explore how you might use that in the future. Another one might be music or theater. Again, there's different ways that you can do internships within those majors. It's not super strict. Like if you're doing hospitality management, you don't have to do your internship at a hotel and that's it. No, that's not the case. You could do your internship at a college that teaches hospitality management. You could do your internship at another tourist company. For example, if there's like I'm thinking about Hawaii a little bit, but there's a sailing company that offers sailing tours to tourists. That's not a hotel, but you can still do an internship within something like that. We've had students doing finance that have done internships at Apple Computers. Why? Because that company needs a financial department. So, you know, it's a bit more flexible than you think. Yeah, does that help? Any other questions?
Do you think more than 0.5% of the students do the internship?
It depends. The question was, do I think that more than half of students do internships? It really depends on the university and how robust their internship program is. I know at our university, more than half of our students do an internship, and that's really because some of the majors require an internship as part of the program in order to graduate. And I know there's several universities across the United States that are similar. So I would say it really depends. Most universities, I would say right now, is probably around 30 to 40%, depending on what they offer and how much resources the students are offered at that university. You look like you have a question.
Next time you tell us the full-time CPT and part-time CPT. If I do the part-time CPT, there's no limit of period, 1 year or 2 years.
For internships, I don't believe so because co-op is a little bit different, and I believe there is for co-op, but for internship, I don't believe part-time. I think it's when you get into the full-time hours, but that I would have to check on, but I don't know exactly how many hours it is. I know that it does, you know, eventually if you do a lot of hours of internship, and I believe it's full-time internships, that's when it starts creeping up on your OPT. But I would have to check the exact amount of hours that would be, or months that it is. But it's definitely something international students should be aware of, and you want to speak to your advisor when you're making your plan, especially if you're planning to do more than one internship. Any other?
There's a question online.
Sure.
I'm majoring in architecture now, and I want to know if I want to work in a company for an internship, what circumstances should I get in? For example, interior design company, to get an authorization from school, and that's what it's all about.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what circumstance? So with professional programs, a lot of times the professor or the program itself, so the degree program will assist you with those internships. And so a lot of times with things like art, design, architecture, and specifically, I think you mentioned interior design, they'll want to see a portfolio of your work. And so again, this is why it's really good that in a way that you have to wait one academic year to apply for the internship, because you can build your portfolio, you can build your resume, work on those kind of things beforehand. But for architecture, interior architecture in particular, you're going to want to put together in addition to a resume, a portfolio of your work, showing your work, and you probably will start developing that in your classes within, even starting in your first year of study, going into your second, third year. You definitely, as far as getting authorization, it's the same for every international student. You have to, typically, what the university will ask for is essentially you'll go and meet with them or fill out, they'll have paperwork to fill out, and you have to show a job offer, and then they will just verify with the employer and authorize that the work is related to your field of study. So if that's what you meant, typically that's how that process would work. So again, each university is different and they have a different process set up, but essentially most of the time you will be working with the Career Service Center or your faculty or the program administration for the internship, and you let them know you're looking for the internship, and then once you have secured the internship, you fill out paperwork, your employer signs it, and it has their contact details on there, and then the person at the school will verify that information and then authorize it, okay? Now there's a whole other area that if you do get a paid internship, for some reason, like I said, it's very competitive and very rare to have a paid internship. Most of them are unpaid. But if you do secure a paid internship, there is the extra step of getting a social security number that you'll need to get in order to get paid. And that's a separate process that the school would work with you on. But you need a job in order first to get the social security number. Any other? Sure.
I imagine some students can't secure an internship, so what is often the biggest reason for not getting one?
Okay, so the question was, some students try to get an internship and they can't secure an internship, so what is the reason most often the student doesn't receive the internship? And I would say typically what I've seen our students come to us about, and it does happen, unfortunately, and this is why you want to research and get prepared as soon as you can and get all the information you need and use all the resources that you have available to you. But typically the reasons I've heard are either, number one, the student was not prepared. Okay, so they didn't know how to utilize the resources that were available to them. So their resume, they threw it together at the last minute and tried to submit it to employers without using the resources on campus to review the resume for them and give them input or advice. So that's one major reason. Another reason is we've had students only looking for paid internships and they would not take an unpaid internship. And again, unfortunately, I would say 90% of all internships are unpaid. And again, you just have to realize that the payment is in the form of the experience that you get and the recommendations that you'll get from the employer and experience and possible jobs later on. So we've definitely had students looking for only paid. That doesn't always work out too well. The odds are a little bit against you, unfortunately, in the US. So I would say those are the two major reasons. Another reason would be if the student is looking only for a specific company, like they're too narrow in their search. So the student only wants to go to Apple, or the student only wants to go to Microsoft or the New York Stock Exchange. And of course, those companies only accept so many internships or interns per year. And so they kind of keep their focus a little bit too narrow. And I think you kind of hurt yourself in a way when you do that. You want to keep an open mind, even if you do have a specific goal in mind. You want to keep your options in your mind a little bit open because you never know what kind of experience you'll get until you're actually there. And so we've had students, like I said, doing internships in places they never thought they would be doing it, and had an excellent experience and excellent addition to their resume. So that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice. Be prepared, use the resources available to you, look for unpaid, and and apply to paid as well, but know that it probably be unpaid, and also to keep your mind open and keep your options open, because you never know what opportunities will come up. Yeah, welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, one more.
You mentioned about career or an internship fair.
Mm-hmm.
When is that usually?
Okay, so the question
what's
was,
going on in there?
yeah, the question was about career and internship fairs that happen on the campuses in the United States. For us, typically, they're held both spring and fall because students can do their internship any time of year at our university. But all universities are different. I know that some universities only offer summer internship programs, so they'll have typically their fairs will be March, where the companies will come to their campus in March, April for internships starting in May, June, July, whereas ours go year round. So we have our career and internship fairs are typically right when school is starting for internships, because they can start as classes are starting. And then in the spring semester, again, it's going to be January, February for both, because we want our students to prepare either for an internship or if they're graduating. When you're graduating, you need to start looking for jobs early. And typically you don't want to wait until June and realize, oh, I'm done school and now what? So, for those students who are graduating and they want to do OPT and stay in the United States, definitely want to be looking for those jobs ahead of time, and we have year-round at our school, at least. Anything else? Yeah.
For example, if my major is French, but if I want, for example, if I want to work at a fashion company, like a magazine company, is it university related? So is it?
That's a good question. So her question was, she wants to major in French, but she might want to do an internship at a fashion magazine or a fashion company. And the answer to that is really up to interpretation by each individual school. It has to be related to your field of study. So if it's a French magazine or it's a fashion house where you're going to be using French or working with French clientele, for example, say there's a major client in France or Quebec or a French-speaking country, that's probably fine. But again, each school, when you get into little nuances of the rules, each school will interpret those immigration regulations a little bit differently. But if you can connect it to your major, then it's probably okay. But again, this is why you want to speak to your advisor when you get to the university and say, this is what I'm thinking. Is this okay? And they might ask you for more information. And so you just want to come prepared with that information, and they'll tell you whether or not it's okay. It's always best to ask them and be on the right side of the immigration rule than just ask a friend that says, oh yeah, that should be fine, and really it's not. And you don't want to get into trouble with those regulations, because there can be some big consequences that you don't want to face. So it's just always best to ask at the school that you're attending. Yeah. Anything else?
She cannot find a job related to her field, French. Is it possible if she works for her advisor, actually the advisor hired her, then it can be OPT or not?
Advisor. Question was, if she cannot find something related to her field of study, can the advisor hire her? Yeah, I mean, sometimes the school will do that. They'll hire their own graduates to work at the school, and it is okay for OPT because it's related because you have intimate knowledge of that university. So again, it depends on what the position is and what the circumstances are, but I've seen it done before, but each university of course, it's very different on what their rules are and who can be hired for what. Typically, though, with majors that are tricky, like you're bringing up French and some of the other ones are very specialized, the Career Service Center at that university they already know that major is offered at the university, and if they're offering internships, school-wide, they'll already have some resources available for those majors to point you in the right direction. And again, this is a place where you can go to your professors as well as a resource for suggestions and things like that for different opportunities available within your major to give you an idea and help you focus on different areas. Good? Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, and for listening, and I really wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully you'll get great internships while you're studying in the United States. So thank you again, and have a great evening. Yeah, thank you.